A maven, an expert, an authority, a connoisseur, a specialist, a professional, a knowledge king, a rock and roll sports talker. Coons Ford of Security Boulevard is proud to present The Sports Maven with Bruce Posner, a no-holds-barred look at the sports world. Now, here's Bruce Posner, The Sports Maven.
Wow, what a day today in sports in this area and across the country. It's hard to pick out the number one story, but it has to be Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, 2 shots off the lead, played a unbelievable round yesterday with 1 bogey, just 1 bogey. Can he put 4 rounds back to back? We shall see. He's 2 shots off the lead, but Brant Snedeker's up there, Kelly Craft is up there. It's a tall task, and it's a tall task to play 4 rounds in a row, but Scott Van Pelt last night on his show around 1 o'clock in the morning showed the odds for Tiger in the Masters. And in August, 100 to 1. And then as he got better, it dropped to 50 to 1. And then 40 to 1. And now it's 10 to 1. Let me tell you, in the field of the Masters, 10 to 1 is a near favorite.
You can tell that those bettors really want to bet for Tiger Woods. I feel like that's a better-driven line.
Well, Vegas has to be concerned about those kind of odds, because what if you get somebody like the guy who dropped a couple million on the Eagles and he walks in? Now, I don't know if there's limits on those odds. I really don't, but I think there will be, because they'll be flooded with Tiger money. Just how about the casual guy? If you were in Vegas, would you not drop $10 or $20 on Tiger in the Masters at 10 to 1 just for fun? All right? I mean, people do that, and that adds up. But we shall see. First of all, this is the biggest lacrosse game regular season in years. I don't remember.
It's the season again. Bruce Posner is back. Modern, this season, lacrosse to be excited about. There's no more.
The past is the past.
The past is the past.
The past is the past. The Terps are going into this 5-0. They've now won 12 straight games, going back to last year. And there are questions. There's no doubt there's questions because of the youth of Maryland's team. But they beat Notre Dame last week. Connor Kelly had 10 points. And you go on and on and on about Maryland, and then there's the number 1 team in the nation. That's not Maryland. And that's Albany because of 3 factors. Their face-off guy, T.D. Erlin, 24 for 24 last week. Think about that. It's hard to lose when you do that. Is that going to happen today? We're going to talk to Mark Dixon in a few minutes on right here after the first break. And Mark Dixon will go over the game with me. And Mark Dixon's doing the game for BTN today. And I'm curious to see who he voted for. Now, 1/3 of the voters voted for Maryland as number 1. 2/3 voted for Albany. But this could be a prelude to a national championship game. And the one thing I will say is ups for Coach Tillman. He takes on everybody. Because from here, they go to Providence. They go to Villanova. All right, at Villanova, a monster game, and then they play Carolina, and then they start the Big Ten. So, he wants to be the best, and he feels that he's got to play the best, and he does. So I love it. I really do. He never takes no easy road whatsoever. But let's get to college basketball and a little pro basketball. Now, Danny, did you see UNC's win over Duke last night?
Yeah, I also saw the first, what felt like half hour of that game where there was a combined 5 points scored. How is that?
It happens. It happens.
It reminded me of the Terps championship game.
Yeah.
Back 10, 13 years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years back.
Yeah.
15 years ago, just for the record. But
oh, man.
16 years ago.
Jeez.
There was a Grayson Allen incident.
Yes.
What did you think? Now, if it wasn't Grayson Allen, you wouldn't even mention anything. Right. But to me, I don't think he intentionally tripped him, but he stuck his hip out.
It's kind of like Zaza Pachulia, right? I mean, you have a reputation, and then the reputation gets out ahead of you, whether or not you do something that dirty or not. I mean, all I know is my one real take on Grayson Allen is that it just feels like he's been in school for very long.
Yeah, it's tiresome.
Yeah, and I guess this is his farewell tour. I mean, what would his farewell tour be without a couple of nefarious plays?
Well, Duke looks great, even though they did lose. UNC was just special last night until there was 5 minutes left. I thought Roy Williams handled that last 5 minutes disgracefully. I mean, you can't just wait till there's 5 or 6 seconds left every time to shoot the ball. And before you knew it, Duke scored 13 straight points when they were down by 16. And they were down by 3. They had a shot to tie it. And Grayson Allen just took and you can't blame him because he brought him back. He had, I think, 2 great threes in that run. But Grayson Allen just took a horrible shot. That I don't even think was a 3, and if it went, it wouldn't matter. But, that was UNC Duke 3. I would not be shocked if there's a UNC Duke 4. Very well could happen. And, I don't know who would win, but I have to tell you that UNC is deep throughout, but this Marvin Bagley is something special. They're 2 great teams. It's the only way to put it. And guess what? They're not the best in the ACC. Because I've watched Virginia just totally dismantle everybody they play on defense. It's unbelievable that when you watch Virginia play, what a job Tony Bennett has done. I can't believe I'm talking ACC basketball here, but the good thing about the Big Ten tournament being over is, number one, I don't have to suffer through Maryland for a little while. But it really allows me to really watch the other tournaments, and they have been great. I watched Providence upset Xavier, just an unbelievable game. Then I watched a little bit of Arizona's DeAndre Ayton. This is the number 1 pick, correct? There's not even a close guy who's going to be number 1.
He's number 1 in terms of college earnings, too.
Yeah. Well said. And only Sean Miller could not win a title with this kid because this kid is unbelievable. And, he's worth more than $100,000. All right, if that's what I had to pay him. But what a joke, the whole incident there. And a week ago, we weren't sure if he was going to play. So what a difference a week makes. But right now, you look at Auburn getting beat yesterday by Alabama. Now, Alabama was scheduled to go to the NIT. That was going to be one of Maryland's tough opponents in the NIT. And sure enough, I want to know 2 things. How can Oklahoma still be in the NCAA with their horrible conference record? 14 losses or whatever, and yet they're still one of the ones in.
I don't see how they are. They've been on a free fall. It's Trae Young's play has as well. If Lenardi has them in, then I trust him, but I don't see how they get in at this point. They have not been in form since probably before the new year.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine how they were the hottest team in the country, but then all of a sudden it fizzled out, and you have Nebraska not even being mentioned after being 13-5 in the conference, which, not only that, they're like a 3 seed in the NIT, which is like the 12th best team in the NIT. Could they be that low? I don't know. Then they're talking about Maryland, Georgetown in the NIT. Georgetown was 5-13 in conference. All right. Now, to put them in the NIT, whatever it is a little surprising, but immaterial. I want to switch over now to some NBA stuff. Now, yesterday, Houston's 17-game winning streak ended in Toronto. With this big guy for Toronto, Vassilunas, is that his name? Valanciunas. The addition of him and the growth of DeMar DeRozan.
Hey, listen, they have Fred VanVleet out there. They have a lot of role players who you'd never heard of before who are just stepping up. They're the best team in the East.
It seems that way right now.
It does.
It certainly is in Cleveland.
With Jaylen Brown falling on his head the other night, and Cleveland seeming to still be having a lot of growing pains. It seems like this year Dwayne Casey and the Raptors aren't going to be that team that everyone writes off and be like, yeah, well, because they had a
run though. They had a run a couple years back,
right? But they have that caps reputation, right? That once they get into the playoffs, they fold mentally, and especially DeMar DeRozan. But it seems that Dwayne Casey and Kyle Lowry and DeRozan and Valanciunas and Serge Ibaka, and I mean that team is for real.
What a great fan base too.
Yes.
What an incredible fan base.
It's like watching the Warriors. I mean, like, obviously watching the Warriors is fun because of how good the on the court stuff is, but the fact that you actually get to watch that crowd go that nuts is it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's super. Now, last night, and you and me talk about it a lot, Lonzo Ball has been coming on strong. The Lakers lost last night in Denver, and Jamal Murray was up to his antics again, just trash talking and trashing the Lakers as they won. They're going back to L.A. on Tuesday, and Walton had to be held back. He was so upset. But, there's two things happening right now. Lonzo Ball is playing great, right? And we have not heard a word from his father. That tells me...
Well, he's in Lithuania.
Well, even in Lithuania, that tells me that there had to be a message sent. All right, and you could talk about Lonzo being traded. He belongs in Los Angeles.
He sure does.
He belongs there.
And it seems like his teammates really do like him. They do like him.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Can't speak for the rest of the family, but...
Well, who knows what's going to happen, but if his father stays out of his career, he could be a great Laker. And now the Lakers, some multi-zillionaire in L.A., a season ticket holder, put up 4 billboards, which is like the new thing now. 4 billboards, all right? The billboard business is taking off.
Yeah.
Saying how much they want LeBron, they call it, L.A. Bron, to come to the Lakers. And
hey, I saw a group of Sixers fans put up billboards in Cleveland for the same thing, like LeBron trusts the process. And I mean, like, listen, the campaign for LeBron James is on, and there was a report this week that his 4 teams were down to the Cavs, Lakers, Rockets, and Sixers, but then LeBron predictably came out and said, I haven't thought of any of the teams that I might go to, which is probably a lie. But I mean, listen, he has a chance to completely alter the landscape of the NBA again next year. He's already done it twice in his career.
It's amazing how Kyrie Irving shook up the entire league. His move to the Celtics just shook up the entire league, and I don't know what to say except it's unreal. But, you mentioned it before we went on the air that the NBA is fascinating right now. There are so many good teams, even the Wizards. The Wizards are playing okay, but please don't tell me they're going to win without John Wall, because it's insane. I got to tell you, against a team like the Warriors, who did lose last night, without Stephen Curry.
Dame Lillard just tears them up every time.
Right, but I got to tell you something. The Wizards have, like, the goods. I think when Wall comes back, they could go on a run. All right? Because I think that Wall is going to come back with something to prove. But the Wizards are pretty safe in the playoff picture now.
Absolutely.
Correct?
I mean, if anything, they're within striking distance of the Cavs.
Right. Well, the Cavs are just,
Listen, they're trying to feel things out. I mean, this seems to be their MO this time of year, every year. I mean, if they don't start to turn the corner and get hot by, April 1, then I would be concerned. But I feel like the Cavs will be just fine as long as they have LeBron.
Well, my hopes and dreams of having Torrey Smith coming back to the Ravens kaput.
No, I'm not sure about that. I'm pretty sure he's still a candidate to be a cap casualty. I'm pretty sure that was just a matter. That was a financial move
to be traded to the Panthers.
He was traded for a depth corner. It's not like he was traded for a serious asset. It's not like the Panthers are going to be super depressed if they are forced to cut Torrey Smith between now and the end of training camp. And listen, Jason Lockenford was reporting heavily that the reunion with Baltimore was going to happen. Because if he didn't get traded in that trade yesterday, he would have been cut, and he would have been back here within a couple weeks. So I think that it's still in play. And listen, I would not rule it out.
Here's an interesting fact. Well, I don't know. I've kind of ruled it out. It just doesn't seem. And at this point, when you keep wishing for something that doesn't come through, you just throw in the towel. We're going to go out to our first break right now. We got Mark Dixon coming on. If you have any interest in lacrosse, he's the man. He'll be on in 5 minutes here on CBS Sports Radio 1300. Back in a few minutes.
Do one thing to protect the environment. It all starts with just one thing. Spring is just around the corner, and March 12th is National Plant a Flower Day. Roses, tulips, carnations, whichever your heart desires, plant something and watch it grow. Flowers are beautiful and give us cleaner air. Whether you're young or old, you can find your green thumb on March 12th. It all starts with just one thing. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
There's no better place in Baltimore to buy your new or used car from than Coons Ford on Security Boulevard, across from Security Mall. Over the years, I have purchased many cars and trucks for GM Dennis Koulatsos, receiving the best price, service, and comfort in dealing with a top-notch executive. Coons Ford Turf Talk listeners can view their inventory at CoonsFordBaltimore.com. Coons Ford carries a huge inventory of Motor Trend's Car of the Year, the Fusion, Hybrid Escapes, the 35-mile-per-gallon Focus, Mustangs, Expeditions, and of course the F-Series trucks. Coons Ford simply likes to make a little bit of money many times. What a great place to buy your new Ford. That's Coons Ford of Baltimore, 6970 Security Boulevard, across from Security Square Mall. Take exit 17 off of 695. At Baltimore. Remember, when you're talking cars, you're talking Coons.
Call 410-298-3800.
Kelly Exchange is your one-stop shop for individual and family health insurance coverage. On KellyExchange.com, you can learn about healthcare reform, find out if you qualify for a subsidy, get quotes, compare insurance plans, and purchase coverage. With over 36 years of experience in the insurance industry, KellyExchange.com is the only website you need to help you navigate the complexities and confusion of healthcare reform and purchase quality insurance for you and your family. Visit KellyExchange.com today. In selecting a professional, you always look to the backgrounds of the persons involved, particularly involving their experience, competence, and established performance. In Maryland, there's one number one leader with regard to personal injury claims, and that's the firm of Science & Kirk. Science & Kirk have handled more auto accident cases than any law firm in the history of the state. The Science family is on their third generation of attorneys that extend all the way back to the 1920s. Donald and his three sons make a formidable team representing their clients. Call their hotline 24/7 at 1-800-LAWYERS for assistance. That's 1-800-LAWYERS for assistance from Science & Kirk. At Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, the professionals provide the highest quality care to the patients. My friends over at Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center are fellowship-trained, board-certified neurosurgeons and interventional pain specialists that specialize in treating all spinal and intracranial disorders with more than 20 years of combined experience. The practice is founded by Dr. Ira Goranczyk and his partner is Jim Conway. These two doctors are perennial Baltimore's top doctors. Not only do they perform complex inpatient procedures, but they also specialize in minimally invasive outpatient surgeries. If you're having problems with your neck or back, call my good friends Dr. Ira Goranczyk and Dr. James Conway at Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, 410-664-3680. Once again, that's Baltimore's best neurosurgeons at 410-664-3680. Baltimore, listen up. If you want crabs, you have to head to the Costas Inn on North Point Boulevard. There is no comparison in all of Maryland for the greatest crabs and crab cakes ever. Costas also serves unbelievable steamed shrimp, Greek salads, and steaks for lunch and dinner. Nick, Pete, and Costas Triantopoulos run the perfect restaurant to go with family and friends. Give Costas Inn a call at 410-477-1975 and tell them that Turf Talk guy sent you. Bruce Posner here with a message brought to you by Chesapeake Urology. Guys, if you broke your right arm, would you just say, heck, I'll live with it, and make do with the left? Of course not. So why is it so many men with erectile dysfunction throw up their hands, assume it's just a part of getting older, and choose to live with it? The experts at Chesapeake Urology have treatments that can help virtually all men resume a normal sex life. Whether you're 48, 64, or 84, Their doctors specialize in ED, and most treatments aren't covered by insurance. Even if you've tried pills without success, the specialists at Chesapeake Urology can show you better treatments. Don't live with something you don't have to. Call Chesapeake Urology at 877-422-8237. That's 877-422-8237.
Welcome back to Sports Maven, presented by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Now, once again, here's Bruce Posner, Sports Maven.
We talked a little bit about it early in the show, about the Maryland-Albany matchup today, and we bring in the Big Ten expert, the real maven of lacrosse, and that's my good friend Mark Dixon. Mark, well, welcome in this morning.
Bruce, good morning. How you doing?
Doing great. Is this the most anticipated regular season game maybe in a couple years?
I would say yes. I would say yes. And there's a variety of reasons. I'm sure we'll touch on some in this conversation, but I think maybe the most compelling is you've got an Albany team, and it's Albany, right? I mean, this is not North Carolina. It's not Duke. It's not Syracuse. It's Albany coming into the defending national champions home. It's a number 1 versus number 2 battle, but Albany is the number 1 team, not your reigning national champion Maryland Terrapins. So this is a highly anticipated game, star power all over the field, storylines that can run for days, and just really excited to call this one.
Yeah, I guess this is the kind of game you get a little nervous because this one is as good as it gets. Question for you, I'll put you on the spot. I assume you have a vote in the top 20. Did you vote for Albany or did you vote for Maryland as number 1?
Maryland is my number 1. My preseason was Duke, and after the Blue Devils fell, and then Denver lost to Duke that previous week, I think they were my 1, 2, 3. I think I had Albany at 4. But Maryland has been my number 1 for the last couple of weeks. I put thought into the poll. I don't put a tremendous amount of thought into it. I'm a pretty simple guy, Bruce. You win, and you kind of stay where you are, or you move up, and you lose, and you fall. And Maryland's done nothing but win, as has Albany. So I've got Albany number 2. Maryland's number 1, Albany number 2 on my poll.
But obviously you can flip a coin there because Albany's been incredible. But I think the way they won at Syracuse, however good or bad or Syracuse was beyond impressive. And I think that's what really catapulted them. Let's talk about the X's and O's now. Well, you got T.D. Erlin last week. I read the stat. I didn't watch the game. 24 out of 24 faceoffs, yet they barely won. But you're not going to lose when you do that. There's just no way.
Yeah, you really have to mismanage the game in order for that to happen. And talking with Albany coach Scott Marr this week, he said that's almost what they did. They just did not play well in stretches offensively, a lot of turnovers, a lot of unforced errors. But he said it was good for them because it kind of got them grounded a little bit after just really ripping through the early season competition. But T.D. Erlin is a special player. He is a difference maker. If it weren't for Trevor Baptiste at Denver, we'd probably talk about T.D. Erlin as the best face-off man in the game, possible Tewaaraton finalist, player of the year, all that good stuff. I think the biggest thing to think about with T.D. Erlin is he got torn up in that quarterfinal game last May in Delaware, and that is fresh in his mind. That is you think about Connor Kelly and the missed shot against North Carolina in the title game in 2016, the Maryland experience in that quarterfinal in 2017 is what burns inside T.D. Erlin.
One thing I love about lacrosse, and that is the top-tier coaches, and we don't have to name them because they name themselves, these guys study film like there's no tomorrow. You know that. And they're able to come up with ways of, I don't know what Tillman's going to do against T.D. Erlin, and I don't know if Justin Shockey, he's just too young to take on that kind of a battle, I think. But he's going to use Heddington if he has to. He's going to use Will Bonaparte if he has to. I don't know what he's going to do. But and Erlin will probably win the face-off war, but there's a lot more to it than that because the Poles will be attacking him left and right if he wins the face-off as easily as he's been doing.
Yeah, and the face-off has not become just a one-on-one matchup. I think we tend to focus on that but it is always 3-on-3. Some coaches like to say it's 10-on-10, which I find a little bit silly. But that's the wing coordination, where you're pulling it to, where you want the ball to be, where the opponent likes to put the ball. The biggest thing with Albany, and John Tillman said it this week, they're going to take their licks at the face-off. There's no question. They hope to go 50-50, but if they don't, they can't allow Erlin out the front door and to create transition. It's one thing to lose a face-off, but then if you can get set, you can stop their transition, get into a 6-on-6 situation. That's the name of the game. You just do not want to give up goals off of face-offs. Those are killer. And to your earlier comment, Maryland's not afraid to go to option B and option C. Look at last year's national championship game where Austin Henningsen was struggling early against Jake Withers. Enter John Garino. Done deal. Garino was able to solve Withers, really dominated the senior All-American in the second half of that game. He's a big reason why Maryland won that national championship.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Here's one thing that I like about Maryland today, and this is a game I would be shocked.
Just one thing, Bruce.
Well,
come on, Bruce.
It's a lot of things, but in this particular game, the thing that I like is Curtis Corley, Bryce Young, and Jack Welding. They're three long poles. I don't know what Tillman's going to do with Nanacoke, and I don't know if there's anything you can do, but my guess is we're going to see Bryce Young on him. I'm not positive. And maybe Corley is going to keep an eye on Connor Fields. But to me, the guy who really scares me more than that, it's Connor Fields. Connor Fields, even at the 18-9 loss last year where Maryland totally dominated, Connor Fields made some goals that were, impossible. They were impossible.
Yeah, there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason Fields is a Tewaaraton finalist a year ago, first-team All-American, really being mentioned in almost the same breath as Lyle Thompson when it comes to the greatest players in the history of Albany lacrosse. I hear what you're saying, and you have to be worried about Nanacoke. You have to be worried about Connor Fields. I think if you're Maryland, though, you're worried more about your short-stick defensive midfield because Albany, you're going to see today, if you haven't seen it already, they've got some middies that can play, Kyle McClancy and some other guys. They can create. And what teams have been able to cause Maryland to do, we saw it last week against Notre Dame. Maryland doesn't want to slide. They do not want to slide. But the defense, the short stick D middies, now with Isaiah Davis-Allen gone, Nick Manis is gone, they've got some new guys in those roles, they're getting beat. And not just beat by a step. We're talking they're getting beat pretty good, and that causes Maryland to slide. You take them out of their identity, you take them out of their comfort zone, and that's where you have to worry about Nanacoke and Fields getting it underneath and doing some damage. Look, absolutely, the one-on-one matchups are critical. Maryland's got to feel really good, though, about their one-on-one matchups with Corley, Young, etc. But I think they're more concerned about that short-stick D midfield, and if they can cover the Albany middies and not compromise the integrity of that defense too much.
It's funny. Tillman always talks about how he loves Connor Kelly on defense. I don't know if you ever heard him say that. I mean, I'm not making that up. He's talked about that.
He says it. He says it to us. And look, I've said it repeatedly in this early season. I'll say it again. I think Connor Kelly is the best player in college lacrosse. He's become their Mike Chanenchuk. He's a Tom Schreiber of Princeton a couple years ago. He doesn't leave the field, but when he's not dishing out assists or scoring goals, Mr. Kelly is not down there playing defense. He's on the attack end of the field. But Kelly is capable. We've seen him play defense throughout his career, but he's so valuable on the offensive end, you try to keep him as fresh as you can for that role.
Don't be shocked if at the end of the game, which it's going to be close, I would be surprised if it's not, but I guess that could happen. You might see him toward the end of the game down there, but we shall see. Another unsung guy for Maryland, and it has been Danny Morris. He's played great. He was great. Before Maryland played Penn, Coach Tillman said he was, and he says this most of the time, but I think he really meant it, that he was really fearful of that game because Penn had so many guys returning, and Danny Morris was the guy who made that game so one-sided. He was incredible, and then you see Penn beat Duke. Penn's a great team. I mean, Maryland just had a great day that day against them.
Yeah, and Dan Morris is a guy, I mean, just imagine you've got to come in and be the starter after Nico Amato and Kyle Burnmore. So that's 3-4 years straight of first-team All-American goaltenders. But the one thing that Amato and Burnmore weren't able to do was win that national championship. And I said it this time last year and throughout 2017. If Maryland's going to win the national title, Dan Morris just has to be really good. He doesn't have to be extraordinary. He doesn't have to be out of this world. He just has to be really good. And he was. In this day and age where 55% of save percentage gets you among the nation's leaders, it's more about when you make the save and the quality of the save versus how many saves you make. We saw that last week, Bruce, against Notre Dame. Second quarter, I think it was a 1-goal or a 2-goal game. Maryland was up. Notre Dame, 2 shots right on the crease. Morris saves them both. They both should have been goals. They go the other way, Maryland sticks it. So that's a 2-goal turnaround. Instead of being down by or up by 1, they're now up by 3. So, or 2. I can't remember exactly what the score was. So just a really, really good goaltender. He's a senior, a graduate student. He's become more vocal. He's become more of a leader. And that's really important when you consider the pieces that Maryland did lose on the defensive side of the field.
My sleeper today in this game for Maryland is, I think, the guy who was part of, I believe, and you might disagree with me, probably the greatest recruiting class ever, and that's Timmy Rotance. Connor Kelly's going to be, it's got to be the focus, but if you go to sleep on Tim Rotance, he'll kill you. All right, his shots are daggers, and I just feel that there's so much Maryland brings offensively. But question for you: are Logan Wisnauskas and Bubba Fairman ready for this game?
Well, I think only the coaches can answer that in terms of how their week of practice has been, what they're like around, the guys and off the field. I'm sure they've been spoken to. But I think there's a couple things to that, Bruce. One, it's March 10th. And we've got to, as excited as I am to call this game, as excited as
just
you are,
one
the rest
game,
of the lacrosse world to watch it, it's one game.
Right.
One game. Maryland and Albany are 2 of the 4 undefeated teams left in the country. Guess who the other 2 are?
Georgetown and who?
Vermont.
And Vermont.
Vermont. So, again, it's not Duke, it's not Denver, it's not Yale, it's not Syracuse. So dropping this, obviously you play the game to win, but losing this game is not the end of the world for either one of these ball clubs, but it sure would be a nice feather in their cap. But to get back to your point about Rotance, he's been underappreciated his entire career. And he's just a guy that, you had last year you got Rambo, and you got to worry about Heacock, and you got to worry about Kelly, and you have to worry about Maltz, and there's Rotance. If you sleep on him, he'll drop 2 or 3 on you before you can blink an eye. I thought he was a little off last week, but expect him to have a strong game today. And then with Wisnauskas and Fairman, those guys, they're so important to the University of Maryland lacrosse team because the one fear you have about Maryland offensively is that they're really top-heavy. Jared Bernhardt and Connor Kelly do most of the heavy lifting. They do most of the scoring. Against Penn, Fairman and Wisnauskas were terrific. Last week they played well, but they weren't as productive. If Kelly is throttled, if you can keep Bernhardt in check, you need those 3, 4, 5, 6 guys to step up. And that's where I think Maryland is trying to develop right now, that depth of scoring. Wisnauskas and Fairman play heavily into that equation.
Listen, don't sleep on Georgetown. When Georgetown came into the scrimmage against Maryland, I don't know if you were there, I was. Kevin Warren has that defense and that entire team playing the ferocious, just magnanimous ground ball game that he helped create at Maryland. And when that game was over, Maryland, you can't judge scrimmages, but that was an even game. And I think Kevin Warren has done an incredible job with Georgetown. Don't sleep on them.
Hey, look, I'm not sleeping on anybody, and Georgetown in particular. I had a chance to watch them in their scrimmage against UMBC, and to your point, they're big and they're athletic, not just at the defensive end of the field, but offensively as well. So Georgetown, at the end of the day, they could be the last undefeated team standing, just with what these the other 3 teams have in front of them. But I think Kevin's done a magnificent job. Georgetown is a sleeper this year for sure, and they're fun to watch.
Yeah, they are. Maryland's, look, I give Tillman credit. He plays everybody. His schedule is just unbelievable. To put Notre Dame, Albany, then go to Villanova, who beat Maryland last year, and then go out to play Carolina. Yeah, I said at the beginning of the year, there's no way that they go through that gauntlet undefeated. They just, I don't believe that it could happen with so many new guys on this team. And but in the long run, that's what makes you great. That's what makes you good, to be tested constantly. And then, of course, the Big Ten schedule. How is the Big Ten looking, Mark? And I know I'm keeping a few minutes past, but I'll leave it with that one. How's the Big Ten look overall? A couple disappointing losses along the way.
Yeah, I think the Big Ten, when you have the year that they had in 2017 with all the success, Penn State was number one at one point, Rutgers was number one at one point, and your national championship game is Maryland-Ohio State. There's a little bit of a step back. Penn State lost to Robert Morris and Villanova. Ohio State lost to Marquette last weekend. Rutgers has lost to Army. Hopkins is off to a little bit of a pedestrian start. But look, this is a terrific conference, and there's a lot of really good players. A lot of really good players graduated a year ago. Grant Amon, arguably the best offensive player for Penn State, is yet to suit up for the Nittany Lions. He's got a foot injury. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Ohio State is built on defense. They're still trying to fill some pieces at the face-off dot and offensively. And Hopkins is a team that, can they beat Syracuse today? That would be a huge win for the Blue Jays. Rutgers, Charlon Beatis goes down. I think that took a little wind out of their sails on the offensive end of the field, both strategically as well as mentally. But they're as dangerous as anybody can get. And look, Michigan's going to be better this year. Will they win a Big Ten game? I'm not quite sure, but I think they got the right guy in there who knows the Big Ten. He knows the Terps, and he knows defense. And that's been the bugaboo of Michigan over the last couple of years. But I think what we've seen so far, and should be no surprise, Maryland is still the class of the Big Ten. The Big Ten title goes through College Park, and but this is a league that is here to stay, and top to bottom, they are among the best in the country. Yeah,
there's no doubt. The one thing about Maryland, everywhere they go, the mark is on their head. I mean, the bullseye's right in the middle of their forehead. They get the best out of it. Because a win against Maryland makes your season. It can get you into a tournament.
Look, you mentioned the schedule. John Tillman knows. So, you got that security blanket, for lack of a better word, if you don't do well in the regular season, you can win your conference and get the AQ. But John, along with a lot of other coaches, realizes that that's not a sure thing. Look at Rutgers the last couple of years. Had their strength of schedule, had the RPI been a little stronger, the Scarlet Knights may have been in the tournament the last two seasons. Tillman knows playing cupcakes gets you nowhere. And even if you play a really strong team and you get a loss, that could even help you in the end. So you got to play that tough schedule. And you're right, Maryland, they got a bullseye on their backs every single game.
Mark, that'll do it. I'll let you go. I can't wait for the game. I'll see you out at College Park. Thanks for coming on.
Sounds good, Bruce. You bet. My pleasure.
All right. This is Bruce Posner. He's the expert, Danny. He is the expert. And you heard him just rattling off every team, analysis of every team. And
I'm even excited for this now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you're working and you can't watch it, TiVo it.
TiVo it, yeah.
Yeah, because this is the game. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. And sometimes these games disappoint, or sometimes they surprise you.
I mean, it's an early season matchup, right?
Right. But it's a little bit more than that because of the way Maryland whooped them last year in the quarterfinals. 18-9, can I tell you something funny? It wasn't that close. I think it was 16-5 going in the fourth quarter. It wasn't even close. It was just one of those days for Maryland. Of course, they were a national championship team, so things follow. But when you watch this, hello to Nanticoke, he's unbelievable. So I'm looking forward to seeing him today. All right, with that, we'll head out to our second break. This is Bruce Posner. You are listening to Coons Ford Presents the Sports Maven this Saturday, every Saturday for the last 10 years. Back in a few minutes here on 1300 AM radio. Cunningham's of the Bag Beast chain has been declared as one of the best restaurants in town. Located at One Olympic Place in Towson, Cunningham's has free valet parking and is open every night. The decor and atmosphere at Cunningham's makes you feel that you are part of a happening event. Using a wood-fired grill and oven, Cunningham's provides its guests with dishes created from the freshest seasonal and local ingredients possible. Call 410-339-7730 for a reservation. It's my pleasure to welcome the Supreme Neighborhood Market Gourmet again to the Terp Talk family. Now under the new ownership of Andy Huffman, Gourmet Again on 3717 Old Court Road continues its tradition of being a specialty food market with all meals, soups, and sandwiches being homemade. My family and all of Northwest Baltimore knows that Gourmet Again is the best market around. Let Gourmet Again cater any party or special occasion that you are having. I absolutely love Gourmet Again. Call 410-484-9393. Gourmet Again is open 7 days a week. Visit them on the web at gourmetagain.com. The phone number, once again, 410-484-9393. That's Gourmet Again. Superior Tours continues to serve the Baltimore area with superior price trips to New York, Atlantic City, or wherever your group wants to go. The Comans brothers have only state-of-the-art motor coaches for your riding pleasure. Superior provides same-day service to New York for only $68 round trip or $48 for one-way trips. Atlantic City trips are $38 same-day round trips with great hotel rebates. Call 410-602-1704 and make a reservation with Superior Tours. Since 1915, Atman's Deli has been serving up the best delicatessen in Baltimore on 1019 East Lombard Street. Atman's is open 7 days a week with an incredible menu, including all your delights. Call Elaine for all your catering needs at 410-563-2666. Remember, Atman's is open every Ravens game in the stadium at Section 118. Nothing is better for me than a pastrami sandwich at Atman's Deli. Mayer and Steinberg are insurance brokers representing Hartford, Travelers, Liberty Mutual, and Zurich, among others, specializing in restaurants, bars, law firms, accounting firms, and wholesalers. Workman's compensation is my good friend Paul Robinson's specialty, including contractors like heating, air conditioning, and landscape companies. Call them at 410-484-7000 and ask for Paul Robinson. Mayer & Steinberg is a 55-year-old insurance agency, family-owned and operated. They can also shop your current insurance coverages and in many instances save you premium. You can trust Mayer & Steinberg. My family and friends have done business with Paul and Mayer & Steinberg for years. There is no one better to represent you for your insurance needs. Call Mayer & Steinberg at 410-484-7000. Situated at 1 Olympic Place in Towson, Cunningham's Cafe and Bakery offers handcrafted breakfast, lunch, and coffee in a casual setting. Featuring house-baked breads and pastries, roasted coffees, and locally sourced eggs and produce from Cunningham Farms, the Cafe and Bakery is the perfect spot for a quick meal or snack. Parking is free across the street. Open 7 days a week. Call Cunningham's Bakery and Cafe, 410-339-7750. Parsonizing Fine Dry Cleaning, the best in Baltimore. Located at Crondall Corner Shopping Center, 410-356-9600, and Woodhome Square Shopping Center, 410-653-1881. They specialize in fine dry cleaning, expert shirt service, elegant hand cleaning, men's and ladies' alterations. They are the best, the Parson Brothers, 410-356-9600.
Baltimore's only radio station that covers national sports 24/7, 365 days a year. Baltimore CBS Sports Radio 1300. This is the Sports Maven Show, presented by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Now, here's the Maven himself, Bruce Posner.
Some other big games in lacrosse today. Johns Hopkins goes up to Syracuse. That's a big one. And Loyola is hosting Duke, which is always interesting. 3 o'clock. I would go to both if I could, but it's not. I don't think it's possible. On the phone right now with me is my good buddy and often co-host Wayne Viener. This segment is brought to you by Coons Ford of Baltimore on Security Boulevard. So many programs there, I don't have time to mention them, but I have to tell you, one thing I love about Coons Ford is their service department. It's second to nobody, and they always take great care of myself and all the members of my family who buy cars there. Wayne, and how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little fired up today about the 1 versus 2 battle in College Park at noon.
Hey, even Mark Dixon was fired up, and he said it, and I agree with him, that it's the biggest or most anticipated regular season game in years.
I mean, whenever you get 1 versus 2, it's a big deal. It's the third time they've played. If Maryland doesn't win this game, I'm not going to be shocked. And in some ways, as you've talked about other teams that go the whole year without losing a game, sometimes it's okay to lose a game during the season. It helps you refocus.
Well, it certainly is okay to lose to number 1. I mean, number 2 was supposed to lose number 1. Maybe not a number 1 time. If I had to put a line on this game, and there is no lines on lacrosse games, I think I'd make Maryland a 1-goal favorite. How about you? Just because it's at home.
Okay, I could see the 1 goal. I think if you're looking at why I would think Maryland's a favorite, other than being at home, is the Maryland defense has a way of handling these smaller attack guys. Connor Field's not the biggest guy. Maryland's found a way to hold him in check 2 times in the past year. And Maryland just keeps bringing these guys in. They all look like the same guy. They look like you're either defensive end or a linebacker type guy, but yet they play like they're power forwards in basketball. You see a guy like Connor Fields make a move, and you can tell he thinks he's open. But a guy like Corley or Young, he's still there. I think it's because of the overall size and a couple inches in arm length and height and 20 pounds bigger than what I see as an average defenseman. And the guy's still there. He makes another move. And the Maryland defender's still there, and he just can't get away. So either he loses the ball or he has to kick it back outside. And you keep trying that. Yeah, once in a while they get open, but for the most part, the Maryland defense shuts these guys down. Now, no, these aren't defensemen who are going to run into play and score a goal. We're not talking about two-way defensemen. Maryland has the best stay-at-home defenseman year after year that I've seen.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way, and certainly their long poles, the midfield long poles, no matter who's playing it, whether it's Neufeld or Brzezowski, or they just keep coming at you. Here's the one weakness that Maryland has is that short stick defender. I mean, IDA, Isaiah Davis-Allen is gone, and Nick Manis is gone, and there's kind of like a search for that right now, and that's where Maryland's been getting beat with Wesley Janik, and they've had to push DeMillo back to defense a little bit, and that's the weakness, the shorties. And I don't know that it's a weakness, but it's a work in process. Let's leave it like that as to where Tillman's going to go.
So I've been asked why, when I come on, and even when I talk about this at home or in the office, sort of feel like Maryland, this might be the one that they lose. And when you play somebody who is your relative equal, Maryland is a national champion, and who's been waiting for you, and I think that you could say that Albany's been waiting to get us. I think this probably, if they're going to get us, it's going to be today. And maybe we'll be lucky enough to play again in the Final Four. But it's not that I'm a Maryland negative, but you're not going to beat the number one-ish team every time you play them. So maybe today's that day.
Well, here's a question for you, all right? What is John Tillman's record against number one teams when he plays them? He has played 4 number one teams. What is his record?
I am going to guess, by the way you asked that question, we're 4-0.
4-0, very good answer, all right? Of course, those are just numbers that you find. But, and that goes back. Penn State was number one last year. Maryland, because of their schedule, runs into this. But to me, and Mark Dixon voted for Maryland number one. And I honestly, can you imagine, I was talking with Danny, that let's say Alabama next year wins its first 5 games and they're not number 1 in the country. That's what's surprising to me, that 2/3 of the voters voted for Albany, and Albany.
Well, hold on a second. Now, Albany's big guns, the guys that you look at as the College Heisman Award or Tewaaraton Award, for Albany, they're still there. You got to remember, all our guys are gone, at least at the national level.
Did you forget about Connor Kelly? I mean, he scored 48 goals as a midfielder last year?
Yeah, Wayne, was he chopped liver?
Yeah, I mean, how can you say that everybody's going?
Compared to that, what was he in the Tewaaraton conversation? Did anybody?
You know what?
You watch the games on ESPN. He should have been.
He should have been. He should have been.
Was he?
He should have been.
Connor Fields was in that discussion. The face-off guy, T.J. Erlin. T.D. Erlin. He's in the conversation as the best. And then their freshman comes in, and he's thought of as the best. Hey, we've got one, Bubba Fairman. But at a national level, you're talking. So I can understand why we might not be voted number 1.
You know what?
Unless you win today.
It's a non-topic. It really is, because it only matters. We've proven it. We've been number 1 every year. I think that we almost won the title. We were number 1 at some point. So it doesn't mean anything, and it only matters who's number 1 at the end, and the rest of it is a myth. All right? It just has no factor. Let's go elsewhere for a minute or two. Did you catch Grayson Allen last night?
At this point, you'd have to not have a computer, Twitter account, or Facebook account to miss. Never mind if you saw the game. Look.
What'd you think?
I think the Capitals should sign him right now. He bumped that guy off the puck like a hockey professional.
Yes, he did. Carl Science, who went to Duke and is a big Duke fan, said this is malarkey. He didn't do one thing. So I guess it's in the eyes of the beholder. All right.
Okay. Well, if this is the first time it ever happened, sure. The 5th time or 4th time, of course he meant to do it.
Yeah. All right, Wayne, I want to move over to DJ Moore a little bit. DJ Moore's stock is rising so high that he might be, and it sounds like he's going to be, a first-round pick. Now, you and me have been spouting this for 2 years, that the guy never drops a ball. Never. All right, and he finds his way open. He's got great speed. What took everybody else all this time to figure it out, Wayne?
We didn't have a quarterback to really show it off. As great as he's been, and as much of the offense as he's generated, I think part of it is that there just hasn't been a quarterback that showcases him, but he's managed to showcase himself. Mason wrote a piece that's up on turftalk.com, puts all the statistics, the hand size, the speed, the weight, the reps, and he just keeps grading out as the number 1 guy. When Mel Kiper came out earlier this year and said he's the best receiver, people question that. I think that's not that big a question right now.
Well, Mel Kiper says something and everybody believes it, but Mel Kiper also watches DJ Moore every week. All right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I remember 3 catches he made, all right, this year, and every one of them was out of bounds. And they were because they were poorly thrown. They were so acrobatic that it was almost unbelievable. A couple of them were in the end zone that, the guy has hands of glue. He's going to be a winner wherever he goes. I only hope he winds up on the Ravens, and I wouldn't be scared to take him with their 16th pick. Don't start trading back. Somebody will come in and scoop him up. Take your shot. He's the guy. I'll tell you this much. He won't drop balls like someone else they took. He won't drop passes. This guy, just my opinion. Wayne, 30 seconds. I'll give you the last word. We're not going to predict today's game. It's a flip of a coin. Just say anything. I give Maryland a little bit of an edge because of the home field. How about you?
I actually think this might be Albany's day. And one other little Ravens note, Elmas Dumerville is available again. You didn't get Torrey Smith. Maybe you can bring Elvis back into the end of the pass rush.
Not going to happen. All right. This is Bruce Posner signing off. We'll see you Wednesday on Terp Talk. Go Terps!